Mother, Father, God, Source, all the one, all that is. May the ancestors hear our prayers. Ancestors, 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 we call out to you at the start of a new year, of a new age, and ask you to guide us to our courage, confidence, and compassion. Help us to remember to love ourselves unconditionally so we may share our love with others. Guide us to heal from the past, be open to the future, and to embrace the present. Support us in taking the necessary risk to write a new narrative for ourselves and for our world. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Amen. Ashe Ahoasai Shinga Bismillah, and so it is. Good evening, and welcome to Wisdom Walk Talk here on Black Hole Radio and my YouTube channel, Wisdom Walk 2 Self-Mastery. I am your host and guide, Joja Maria and Saroma. So, tonight I am going to be giving you this information about what I'm calling our cosmic wake-up call that has been going on very, very directly since the outbreak of COVID in 2020. So my overview is that I'll give you some understanding for those of you who may not know what a cosmic wake-up call is. Next, I will be talking about the grieving and imagining. And then I'm going to give you a personal contribution for collective healing that you can make. So, cosmic wake-up call. What is this about? Why is it happening? And I want to share this other quote with you. It's by a woman named Anna-Dia Judith. And back in 2006, she wrote this book called Waking the Global Heart. And what I love about this quote is it just really kind of gives a beautiful framework, a touchstone, if you will, for this time of great change that we are going through as humans. And Anna-Dia says, we stand at the dawn of a new era, immersed in technology, yet hungry for the sacred. There is deep longing for a story that balances masculine and feminine, progress and sustainability, order and freedom, power and love. The stories we tell ourselves shape our world. They guide our relationships to each other, to the environment, to the future. Life in the 21st century is spinning a new myth. It is time to listen to the growing chorus of voices that make up this story. Together, we are discovering and inventing a way to the future. Yes, yes. So, a cosmic wake-up call, this is part of how the evolution of the cosmos and humanity being a part of the cosmos, this is how it works. And duality is a teaching method. Hot or cold, up or down, love or fear, war or peace. We're in this place of duality, and if you're not able to experience both sides of them, then you don't know them. A quote I always remember and keep in mind comes from the Vedic teachings of India, and I learned this from Deepak Chopra, where it says, a man born blind at birth can never know darkness because he's never known light. Yeah, pretty powerful. Now, these things that are happening, this tragic time that we're living in, and as we know, the Ukraine isn't the first place where people have been treated like they're disposable, where they've been pushed out of their homes, where they've been subjected to somebody else's crazy. We know what just happened in Afghanistan, what happened in the Sudan back in the 90s, what's happening in other places right now around the world, where people's freedoms, people's ability to live in this beautiful earth in a loving way, healthy way, is being, stepped on, demolished, destroyed. And all of that is really an illustration of the fact that that way of thinking and being no longer works for us. Yeah. I don't think it ever really did, but think back in history. Think back to the Roman Empire. There was a time when, this is just what happened. Or the Vikings, this is just what happened. And it was almost expected. But we now, and especially after the experience of World War I and II, really are moving as a human species into really, really getting that, believing that people are disposable and treating them like that. It really, really doesn't work. It really, really doesn't work. And so these things that are going on, it presses on our hearts, and it's supposed to. It's supposed to. We're supposed to be caring about what's going on in the Ukraine. We're supposed to be caring about what's still going on in Afghanistan, what's still going on in Sudan, what's going on even in parts of the United States where there is oppression and separation and violence going on against people because of the color of their skin or a lifestyle choice that they make. Yeah. So all of that to say that a cosmic wake-up call is when these things are happening and they just seem relentless. Yeah, and let's throw COVID into this, a global pandemic that shows up. And it just seems like, oh my God, when is this ever going to end? What's happening? I got a request from someone that sent me email saying, that they were just so upset about what's going on, and they know people, they have friends in Eastern Europe and who aren't in Ukraine but near it, and who are just in fear, and it's it's just really a hard time. As you were saying, is there a ritual, Jennifer? Is there something I can do? And I told her yes, but it was her request that came in. Her name's Deborah, that really spurred me to say, okay, let me share this in my broadcast with you all tonight. Because the other big message that we need to be aware of what's happening when this kind of cosmic wake-up call is happening. These horrible things that just don't seem to end, that are so disruptive to our way of living, our way of being. It is also a call to get closer to our greater order and direction. And that means it's time to throw up our hands and say, we can't figure this out all on our own. We can't understand this all on our own. We need some help from a greater order and direction. And however you believe in your God, or whatever form your God takes, we are really being called to connect with the divine. Yeah. So the other big message in this cosmic wake-up call, this thing that is so overwhelming, these events, so overwhelming, so horrible, we can't even really understand why is this happening. It's also a call for us to choose to surrender to the power of love over fear. Yeah, love over fear. So it is really happening. We're being asked, humanity is being asked to wake up to the things that are no longer supposed to be working. No longer supposed to be working. It's no longer okay for us to believe that people are disposable, that we can discriminate based on somebody's skin color, somebody's country, or somebody's language, that it's not okay to put profit over people. Yeah, like, no, it's not okay. But we've been so conditioned into these belief systems. How do we get out of it? And that's, to me, is why there is so much going on that is calling us, asking us to grieve. Yeah. And as I said in my quote, grieving isn't just about the loss of this thing or person that we love. It's a message that something inside of you has died, and you're still trying to live out of it, and you need to stop. Yeah. Now, what does all that mean? So let me tell you this. We have become so conditioned to think that to be successful, to be happy, to be safe, you've got to lock things down and hold things down and get that security, and know what is going to happen, and and then you're going to be safe. And in that process of trying to know everything, we leave no room, not only for, more new things to show up, but we leave no room for our ability to really experience our emotions and to experience what life really is and what life is requiring from us. We've gotten so numb to the human suffering that has been going on just with the pandemic, that there are so many people dying still, that there are still people getting this disease, and it's not just a flu for them. It's causing problems. And we are so numb to that we just want it over. We want it done. We don't want to have to think about, but there's somebody suffering and dying right now. So we've been ignoring the grief. We don't want to deal with it. We don't want to feel, right? We just don't want to feel. We just go shop. Let me go shop. Let me go to the Super Bowl. Let me go dance. Let me whatever. But we don't want to deal with the reality of what is going on. And so the universe is like, hey, until you really acknowledge this in some way, shape, and form that's conscious, I'm going to have to keep bringing it to you. Like, so how do we do that? How do we grieve? How do we grieve for people that we've never met, that we don't know? How do we feel for people that we've never met and we don't know, right? And if you haven't lost someone to COVID, I can't imagine anybody who hasn't, but if you haven't, like how do I connect with that? How do I connect with that grief? Yeah. So the first thing to know is all you have to do is really open up to want to connect with it, because it's going on. We're human. And when things like this happen, tragic things happen, traumatic things happen, it really messes with our psyche. And there's something in us that knows, I need to release. I need to grieve. So we can take this on consciously. And the first thing is to accept that, what is going on, the what that is happening isn't really something that isn't affecting me. It is affecting you, and in ways that you may not be conscious of. So here's what I recommend is, number one, to accept that you can't have this kind of loss, this kind of tragedy going on in the world, and you not be grieving. So here's how to consciously do it. And this is what I invite you to do. Join me in wearing black at least once a week. And in the indigenous cultures, and especially in the one that I wisdom keep, black is the color for healing. Yeah. And when you wear black, what you're doing is you're acknowledging that it is time to grieve. It's time to grieve. And when you do it consciously, you're making a contribution to helping others become mindful that it's okay for us to be grieving. And sometimes grief isn't going to come out with tears. Grief can be just a pause of feeling like this doesn't feel good. I feel sad. And I feel sad because so many people are dying. So many people have died. It's scary. We don't know what's going to happen. You know, that's grief. That is grief. Yeah. Now, I'm going to share with you what I call a personal contribution to collective healing, but it's a ritual. And it's going to be a grief ritual. And it's also going to be an imagination ritual, right? So I'm going to give you a balance with this, because with the grieving, we're letting something go. But why are we doing that? Because we're making room for new things to come in. Yeah, yeah. You know, what's happening in Ukraine, what's happened in Afghanistan, all of these things, they're just so overwhelming. And definitely there are things in the 3 dimension that we can do, like, you know, make contributions, send money, send clothes, you know, to the organizations that are helping people who are now in refugee status. You know, and maybe there's even some other ways. You may know people who know people there, and, you know, that kind of thing. So they're definitely 3D things. But what I'm sharing with you is what we do in the realm, in the cosmic realm, in the spiritual realm, in the metaphysical realm, in the 5th dimensional realm, okay? In that invisible place, but very alive and energetic place where things can happen. Things can happen. And in doing these things that I'm going to give you to do, you will definitely be making a contribution to all the people right now who are suffering from the dominance dynamic and the loss of humanity between people, that believing that people are disposable.